First contact paradox. The Arcanid observation vessel, Eternal Vigilance, maintained its position in the shadow of Earth's moon, its quantum displacement field rendering it completely undetectable to what the crew considered primitive human technology. Commander Valix Nor, a tall being with 6 elongated limbs and compound eyes that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, studied the holographic projection of Earth with a mixture of scientific curiosity and thinly veiled disdain. Such a peculiar species, she remarked to Science Officer Zenith. Their technological progression is wildly inconsistent. They've barely established permanent outposts beyond their atmosphere, yet they've developed rudimentary quantum computing. Zenith, whose slender frame housed one of the most analytical minds in the Arcanid Council, nodded in agreement. The evaluation committee projects another century before they might be worthy of official contact. Their societal structure remains fragmented. They still wage war over resources and beliefs. The Arcanids had monitored Earth for nearly 2 centuries, cataloging human development with detached scientific interest. The Council's protocol was unambiguous. Species must achieve certain benchmarks before being welcomed into the galactic community: unified planetary governance, self-sustainability beyond their homeworld, and mastery of clean energy. Humans had achieved none of these prerequisites. High Counselor Trezix arrives tomorrow to conclude the observation mission, Commander Nor said, dismissing the hologram. Prepare the data archives for transfer. We'll leave the humans to their chaotic evolution. But the following day brought something no Arcanid had anticipated. Commander. The sensor specialist's voice carried an unfamiliar edge of alarm. We're being scanned. Impossible. Check for system malfunctions. It's not a malfunction. The humans, they're using a directed quantum resonance array. They're looking directly at us. The bridge fell silent. Quantum resonance detection was centuries beyond what humans should possess. Before Commander Nor could respond, a transmission pierced their communication system, bypassing encryption protocols that had never been breached. Unidentified vessel in lunar orbit, came the message in clear, unaccented English. Another impossibility. This is Earth Unified Space Command. We have tracked your presence for the past 96 hours. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. When High Counselor Trezix arrived hours later, the situation had deteriorated further. 3 Earth vessels, crewed by Arcanid standards but surprisingly agile, had positioned themselves around the Eternal Vigilance, their weapon systems active. How did they detect us? A High Counselor demanded, his chromatophores flashing patterns of agitation across his exoskeleton. Unknown, Counselor. Their technology shouldn't be capable of it. And yet here we are, Trezix said, crystalline fragments in his voice betraying his concern. The High Counselor made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. Disengage displacement field. Open communications. The first face-to-face meeting between humans and Arcanids took place aboard the Eternal Vigilance. The human delegation, 5 individuals of varying ethnicities and genders, showed neither fear nor awe as they stepped onto the alien vessel. They simply looked curious. I am High Counselor Trezix of the Arcanid Council. The Counselor began. We come in peace to observe. The leader of the human delegation, a woman with copper skin and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything simultaneously, stepped forward. I am Director Maya Santos of Earth Unified Space Command. You've been observing us for quite some time, Counselor. We've been aware of your presence for years. Impossible, Zenith interjected. Our displacement field manipulates quantum probability waves to create a localized phase variance in the quantum field. Director Santos finished for him. Yes, we detected the anomalous probability patterns 3 years ago. We've been watching you watch us. What followed was a revelation that shook the foundations of Arcanid understanding. The humans hadn't achieved the benchmarks the Council considered essential because they had taken entirely different developmental paths. Instead of unified planetary governance, They had developed a complex system of international cooperation that preserved cultural diversity while enabling global action when needed. Rather than establishing permanent colonies on other planets, they'd created adaptable habitats on Earth that could function in any environment. But your energy crisis, Commander Noor began, was addressed last year. Another human delegate, Dr. Elijah Okafor, explained. We developed atmospheric extraction technology that harvests energy from thermal differentials. It's not as elegant as your antimatter systems, but it's sustainable and adaptable. As the meeting progressed, the Archanids found themselves increasingly unsettled. The humans asked questions about Archanid culture, not just their technology. They offered information freely, without the cautious bargaining the Council expected from newly contacted species. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to have intuited the existence of the galactic community without being told. How many other species are out there? Asked Director Santos. And how many of them have been watching us too? Before High Counselor Trezix could formulate a diplomatic non-answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Chief Engineer Lith rushed onto the bridge, his exoskeleton vibrating with urgency. Counselor, we have a critical failure in the antimatter containment system. The field integrity is collapsing. The implications were immediately clear to everyone on the bridge. If the antimatter containment failed, the resulting annihilation reaction would destroy not only the eternal vigilance, but cause catastrophic damage to Earth's moon and potentially the planet itself. Evacuation protocols. Ordered Trezix. All personnel to escape vessels. There's no time, Lith said, displaying the deterioration curve on a holographic display. We have 11 minutes until critical failure. The human delegates exchanged glances. Dr. Okafor stepped forward. May I see the containment system, Counselor? Trezix hesitated only briefly before nodding. In a crisis of this magnitude, protocol became secondary to survival. What happened next defied all Arcanid expectations. Dr. Okafor studied the antimatter core for less than 2 minutes before turning to his colleagues. They engaged in rapid conversation, frequently interrupting each other, building on each other's ideas in a chaotic yet strangely efficient manner that the Arcanids found difficult to follow. We need to invert the containment field polarity, Dr. Okafor finally said, turning to Engineer Lith, and introduce a cascading harmonic to counteract the instability wave. That's not possible, Lith objected. The system isn't designed to. We don't need to use the system as designed, interrupted another human delegate, a young woman with quick hands and quicker eyes. We need to repurpose it. What followed was 8 minutes of frantic, improvised engineering that violated at least 14 fundamental principles of Arcanid scientific doctrine. The humans worked with an intuitive understanding of the alien technology that should have been beyond them, adapting and reimagining systems they had never seen before today. With 33 seconds remaining before critical failure, Dr. Okafor made a final adjustment. The destabilization curve flattened, then began to reverse. It worked, Engineer Lith said, disbelief evident in his voice. But it shouldn't have worked. The approach was completely unorthodox. Sometimes, Director Santos said with a slight smile, unorthodox is exactly what you need. Later, in his private quarters, High Counselor Trezix recorded his report to the Arcanid Council. The humans do not conform to our understanding of technological progression. They develop in leaps and intuitive jumps rather than the methodical advancement we expect. Their social structures prioritize diversity over unity, yet they can cooperate effectively in crisis. Most significantly, they possess a creativity in problem-solving that our predictive models fail to anticipate. He paused, considering his next words carefully. I recommend immediate reclassification of humanity and accelerated integration protocols. The humans we expected to find do not exist. The humans we found instead may be far more valuable to the Council than we could have imagined. As the Eternal Vigilance prepared to depart Earth's orbit, something unprecedented occurred. A massive spatial anomaly materialized near Mars, emitting radiation signatures unlike anything in the Arcanid database. Both human and Arcanid sensors detected it simultaneously. "What is that?" Commander Noor asked, her compound eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of energy that was rapidly expanding. For once, the humans looked as confused as the Arcanids. "Unknown," Director Santos admitted, "but it's growing. And the radiation spectrum suggests it's highly unstable." High Counselor Trezix's chromatophores flashed rapid patterns of alarm as new data flowed in. "This is beyond our experience. If these readings are correct, the anomaly could engulf your entire solar system within days." The human delegates conferred briefly before Director Santos addressed the counselor again. "Then it seems we have a common problem. And perhaps between your experience and our unorthodox approach, we might find a solution." Trezix studied the humans thoughtfully. The council protocols were clear about non-interference with developing species, but these humans had already shattered expectations once today. "Indeed, Director Santos, it appears the universe has forced our hand toward cooperation." As the anomaly continued to grow, casting an eerie light across the observation deck, humans and Arcanids bent their minds together toward a threat neither species fully understood. A first tentative alliance forged in the shadow of extinction. The Unorthodox Alliance. The Grand Chamber of the Arcanid Council hummed with tense energy as High Counselor Trezix concluded his presentation. Holographic images of Earth and its inhabitants rotated slowly above the central dais, casting blue light across the concerned faces of the 7 council members. "So these humans detected our quantum displacement technology, neutralized an antimatter containment failure that our own engineers couldn't solve, and now they're facing an existential threat that may engulf their entire solar system." Grand Counselor Varix summarized, her luminous eyes narrowing. "And you propose we help them?" "With respect, Counselor," Trezix replied, "this spatial anomaly represents an unknown threat that could eventually affect Arcanid territories as well. And the humans have demonstrated problem-solving capabilities that might prove valuable." The chamber erupted into overlapping voices, each counselor expressing concerns or fascination. In 10,000 cycles of Arcanid exploration, no species had ever been fast-tracked for collaborative effort before achieving unified planetary governance. "Silence," commanded Elder Zirith, the oldest council member. When the chamber quieted, he fixed his gaze on Trezix. "What you propose is unprecedented. You wish us to share advanced technology with a fractured species, one that still resolves differences through conflict. I propose we recognize them for what they are. Different, not inferior," Trezix answered. "Their diversity breeds innovation. Their competitive nature drives advancement. They solve problems by approaching them from angles we wouldn't consider." Before the council could respond, an urgent communication interrupted the proceedings. Commander Noor's face appeared on the main projection, her expression grave. "Forgive the interruption, counselors, but the anomaly has increased its expansion rate by 300%. Earth scientists and our own have revised the timeline. Complete solar system engulfment is now projected in approximately 72 hours. The chamber fell silent. Elder Zirith turned to Trezix. "Your new human friends have limited time to demonstrate their value. What exactly do they propose to do about this anomaly that our science cannot?" "That's what I intend to find out," Trezix replied. "I request permission to deploy our most advanced research vessel, the Quantum Oracle, to the human solar system, with a full complement of our best scientists." "Granted," Elder Zirith said after a moment of consideration. "But understand this, Trezix. If the humans cannot contribute meaningfully to resolving this crisis, we will withdraw and observe from a safe distance. The Arcanid Council will not risk valuable resources on a doomed species." 48 hours later, the Quantum Oracle hovered near the orbital path of Mars, its advanced sensors directed at the spatial anomaly that now dominated the inner solar system. On the ship's command deck, Arcanid scientists worked alongside human counterparts in an uneasy alliance. Our simulations confirm that conventional approaches will fail, Science Officer Zenith reported. Energy-based containment, graviton resonance disruption, even quantum stabilization fields. The anomaly simply absorbs or redirects our efforts. Director Santos nodded grimly. Our findings align with yours. This thing adapts to defensive measures almost instantly. The mood on the deck was somber. In less than 24 hours, the anomaly would begin to consume Earth's orbit. Evacuation efforts were underway, but humanity had nowhere near the capacity to relocate its billions of inhabitants. The Archanids had offered to evacuate key scientific and cultural representatives, but even their advanced vessels could save only thousands, not billions. Dr. Okafor, who had been unusually quiet during the discussions, suddenly straightened. "We're approaching this wrong," he said, drawing the attention of both species. "We're treating the anomaly as an enemy to be defeated or contained. What if it's neither?" "Explain," demanded Trezix. Okafor activated a terminal, displaying new sensor readings. "Look at these patterns in the quantum flux. They're not random. There's a structure here, almost like a language," finished a young Arcanid scientist named Thylax, her chromatophores flashing with sudden insight. "Precisely," Okafor agreed. "What if this isn't a natural phenomenon at all? What if it's a form of communication?" The idea was so audacious that it momentarily silenced both human and Arcanid scientists. Trezix was the first to recover. "If this is communication, it's incredibly destructive. Any intelligence capable of generating such a phenomenon must know it's threatening an inhabited system. Unless they don't," Santos suggested. "What if this is like a child shouting in a room, unaware they're hurting someone's ears? What if the scale difference is so vast that they don't even perceive us as intelligent life? Then we need to make them hear us," Okafor said. "We need to respond in their language." What followed was 18 hours of the most intensive cross-species scientific collaboration in galactic history. Human intuition and creative leaps paired with Arcanid methodical analysis and vast knowledge bases. They argued, they challenged each other's most basic assumptions, they worked through human exhaustion and Arcanid metabolic cycles without pause. The solution they devised was, by any conventional standard, madness. "You want to create a counter-anomaly." Elder Zerith's voice was incredulous when Trezix presented the plan via quantum communication, using our ship's drive core. "The humans call it constructive interference," Trezix explained. "By generating a precisely calibrated quantum event that mirrors the anomaly's pattern, but in antiphase, we create a convergence that should either resolve the anomaly or catastrophically accelerate it." Zerith interrupted. "This plan wasn't developed by our scientists, was it?" "It was developed by both species working together," Trezix admitted. "The fundamentals come from Arcanid quantum theory, but the application, the approach is distinctly human. And if it fails, then we will have tried everything possible, and we can evacuate with clear conscience." After a long silence, Zerith spoke again. "Proceed, Counselor. But be aware that the Council has authorized a contingency. If your plan fails, all Arcanid vessels are to jump to safety immediately. No heroic last stands. Is that clear?" "Perfectly, Elder," Trezix responded, though his chromatophores flashed patterns that the distant Zerith couldn't see, patterns of determination, and perhaps something Arcanids rarely admitted to feeling: hope. As the anomaly's edge approached Earth's orbit, the quantum oracle positioned itself at the calculated focal point, the ship's quantum drive. The most advanced propulsion system in the Arcanid fleet had been reconfigured according to the joint human-Arcanid design. "Drive reconfiguration complete," reported the Arcanid chief engineer. "But I must register a formal objection. This modification violates 14 fundamental safety protocols." "Objection noted," Trezix replied calmly. "Proceed with the activation sequence." On the command deck, humans and Arcanids worked side by side at terminals, monitoring every aspect of the unprecedented operation. Director Santos stood next to Trezix, both leaders watching a countdown that might signal either salvation or accelerated doom. "Whatever happens," Santos said quietly, "thank you for giving us this chance." Trezix's chromatophores shifted to a pattern rarely shown to non-Arcanids: respect. "You earned it when you saved our observation vessel. Perhaps there is something to learn from unorthodox approaches after all." The countdown reached 0. The modified drive activated, channeling its immense energy not into propulsion but into a precisely calibrated quantum event. The ship shuddered as energy surged through systems never designed for such application. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, sensors detected a new pattern in the anomaly: a resonance, a response. The vast swirl of destructive energy began to change its configuration, the expansion slowing, then halting. "It's working," Zenith exclaimed, normally reserved demeanor broken by excitement. "The anomaly is responding to our signal." The view screens showed the impossible. The spatial anomaly was contracting, folding in on itself, the destructive energy dissipating in harmless waves. "No," Dr. Okafor said, studying the readings intently. "It's not just responding. It's communicating." The ship's systems began receiving complex data patterns, flowing in on quantum channels that hadn't existed moments before. The anomaly continued to shrink, transforming from an existential threat to a controlled phenomenon. "Translation matrix engaging," announced an Arcanid communications specialist. "We're receiving information, vast amounts of it." Hours later, as Earth's population celebrated their unexpected salvation, High Counselor Trezix addressed the combined team of humans and Arcanids on the Quantum Oracle. "What we encountered was indeed a form of communication," he explained. "From a civilization so advanced, so different from our own, that their equivalent of clearing their throat nearly destroyed a solar system. They exist primarily in dimensions beyond our perception, and our realm is as thin to them as a sheet of graphene would be to us." "But they heard us," Santos said, wonder in her voice. "They recognized our signal and responded." "They did more than that," Trezix continued. "The data they shared contains scientific knowledge beyond anything the Arcanid Council has ever encountered. It will take centuries just to begin understanding it all." "What happens now?" asked Dr. Okafor. "To Earth, to humanity." Trezix's chromatophores shifted through patterns of solemn decision-making. "I have spoken with the Council. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that we did not anticipate. You lack our unity, our methodical approach, our patient advancement, but you possess something equally valuable: creativity, intuitive leaps, and a willingness to attempt the seemingly impossible." He paused, then continued. "The Council has voted unanimously to offer humanity full membership in the Galactic community, effective immediately. Not as junior partners, not as proteges, but as equals." Director Santos looked momentarily stunned. "But we haven't achieved the prerequisites. We don't have unified planetary governance, or..." "Perhaps our prerequisites were too rigid," Trezix interrupted. "Perhaps there is more than one path to becoming a species worthy of the stars." Later, as the Quantum Oracle prepared to escort a contingent of human representatives to the Arcanid homeworld, Commander Noor approached Trezix in a private corridor. "Do you truly believe humans are ready, Counselor?" she asked. "They're still fractious, often irrational. They argue constantly among themselves." "Yes," Trezix replied simply. "And in that argument, in that diversity of thought, they find solutions we would never consider. The universe is vast, Commander, and vastly strange. Perhaps it takes a strange species to help us understand it." On the observation deck, Dr. Okafor stood with Zenith, both looking out at the stars that now represented not just wonder, but possibility. "You know what I find most remarkable," Zenith said. "When faced with extinction, your species didn't fragment as our models predicted. You united." Okafor smiled. "That's the thing about humans, Zenith. Tell us something's impossible, and we take it as a challenge. Tell us we're doomed, and we'll fight hardest. Not because we're fearless or especially brave, but because we simply refuse to accept limitations, even the ones that seem built into reality itself. A dangerous quality, Zenith observed. Yes, Okafor admitted, but also a necessary one, perhaps. Someone needs to ask the impossible questions, to try the ridiculous solutions when the sensible ones fail. As the quantum oracle activated its quantum drive, properly configured this time, and slipped away from the Sol system, a message was transmitted from Earth to the departing vessel. It was simple, direct, and captured the essence of what made humans unique among all species the Council had encountered. Looking forward to surprising you again soon. The message was signed not by any single government or organization, but simply humanity. And for the first time in his long career, High Counselor Trezix found himself genuinely looking forward to being surprised.